right, welcome back to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. I had this gentleman. I don't know, like if he likes being called a gentleman.
I like gentlemen.
Would you consider yourself a gentleman, Serak?
I'd say this. I think if my mom was listening, yes. If she isn't listening, then yes, still a yes. Yeah, I consider myself a gentleman. I don't know what are some qualities of a gentleman?
Okay,
like a door opener.
All right, so before we get into that, Serak has a very, very popular podcast in the Tampa Bay area, and I wanted to promote that because he is my guest. He's coming on and he's mixing it up with me, talking about personal stuff, current events. Serak, how can people listen to your show as well as find you on social media?
Well, listen to the show. Usually we, our two most popular, I guess you can say what we broadcast off of will be like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. The name of the show is The Weekly Review, so just like it sounds. And we also do it on YouTube as well. Same title. And if you want to follow me on like Instagram or any other social media handles, Instagram is Serak. It's Serak, the mic, THEMIC. All right. So it's one word, Serak the mic. And it's kind of like you can go from there, and a lot of links to our different platforms as well.
All right, so gentlemen, okay. Well, gentlemen, now let me ask you, okay, you're 31, I think, correct?
Right.
All right, so have you ever noticed through all the dating experiences you've had, like we're taught as men to be respectful, right? To be respectful and be gentlemen, like I said, okay? Now, I think sometimes women look at men being kind and respectful and being a gentleman as a turnoff. Have you ever gotten that before where like they want the bad boy? They don't,
yeah.
Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, that makes 100% 100% sense. 100% sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, some women, like, I guess it depends on, like, the, I don't want to say like age group, but kind of like where you're at. I feel like, women around my age right now, they prefer the gentleman type, the guy who has, things going for him and, has a career and a future laid out, versus 10 years ago, it's like, the fun guy, the 30, badass. Yeah.
30 is a big change though. Like, and I'll tell people, like, when you're, okay, so this is how I describe it. Your 20s, you're still living, okay, so I'm still a decade that's butted up against my teenage years. I think that's why a lot of people look at it that way, or how a lot of people look at it.
Right.
All through your 20s, you're like, oh, I'm still just like a decade away from the 90s, all right?
Right.
But like I just recently turned 40, and I got to tell you, 40 was nothing.
How do you feel?
I mean, I feel, you want me to be honest? It's the best that I've ever felt in my life, buddy. Like, it's crazy to explain, and we're going to get into that stuff that I'm starting to notice at 40 that we'll get into. But do you understand what I'm saying by, like, when you're in your 20s, you're like, I'm still butted up against my teenage years, per se, And then when you get to 30, I kind of freaked out a little bit at 30.
Yeah, I mean, 30 is like, you're still trying to find your path, I guess. You know what lies ahead, pretty much, right? From 30 to 35, right? You're either going to do one of these three things: get married, have children, or, I don't know, buy some type of property or something like that. Like, that's most people's goals, I would say. So, then you really start to dial in on how to achieve those. And the 20s is just like, it's whatever goes. You can fuck up 100 times, and what I'm saying? You still got your youth. You can still retry. So I think right now I still consider myself young, but
you're definitely young. Hell yes, you are, but you have more knowledge. But I got to tell you, man, you start pitting those dates on yourself. Like 35, you want to be married, you want to have kids, you want to have this, you want to have that. I got to tell you what, it's kind of depressing and kind of dark if you don't hit those. Like, if you get to like 36, 37, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't get done what I thought I was going to do. I'm almost to my 40s. I'm almost to my 40s, and it might be too late.
Yeah, because then everything else that you're supposed to do at 40 is now you got to push that back. Like, you just it's just delaying.
Yes. Now, I watched this video about how us as humans do not like totally understand or perceive time. You
Okay.
see what I'm saying? A lot of people like to say the older you get, the faster time goes by. Is that something you've experienced?
Um, I don't think the faster time goes by. I think
But it
the
feels
busier you,
people.
I feel like the busier you are. When you don't have a lot of things to do, or you're not that busy, or don't have a lot of
Mhm.
responsibilities, it seems like everything takes forever, right? Waiting, oh, this is forever. You got all the time in the world, but when you have
Mhm.
like a schedule, and like for you, for instance, right? You got these scheduled interviews, you got places you have to be,
Yep.
you got people you have to talk to, and then you start to think like, damn, I don't have time to do all this, and that's when you kind of lose track of time, and then next thing it's 2 months down the road, and it's like, what the hell did I just do the past 2 months?
Okay, you want to know what's going to blow your mind
Hmm.
on this year is the anniversary of something. I want to see if you know what it is. And
This
it's
year,
one of the big
2021.
it's one of the biggest things ever to happen in American history.
Oh, I guess it would be September 11th, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
it
it'd be
can
20
do
years.
does it
Holy shit!
20 yeah, Serak. Does that not blow your mind when we're talking about how we perceive time?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Does it really feel like 20 years?
I think, and I think the thing why it seems so much more recent, because for some reason 2001 and 2011 I always get mixed up. So
Yeah.
when it's like a 20-year anniversary of September 11th, I'm like, damn, it's already 20 years. I'm thinking in my head like that was only 10 years ago, but in actuality it's 20 years ago. So like the number scheme, the
Mhm.
1001
Yeah.
201, like that mix up can really, like, it can be a
Um,
10-year difference.
no, I agree with you. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I brought this up on my social media. I made the joke, and it's really shouldn't even be a joke, but I get tired of waking up every single morning and seeing historical events on a daily basis. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean,
Breaking news.
I mean, think about all the stuff. And I'm not saying like, look, we could have had it a lot worse. Like,
Right.
it's not like we lived through the Civil War or the Revolutionary War or anything like that. But like, I guess it kind of happens to everybody though.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Every
what?
generation has
Yeah,
that moment.
what is the first big news story that you can remember growing up?
Oh man, as a kid, I would say maybe
Because I know mine.
I wouldn't I want to say September 11th, but like, I
But
mean, I
how old
was
were you though? At
seventh
that age?
seventh grade. I don't even know how old that is. Was that 13, 12 or 13,
Yeah,
14?
yeah, I could
I
see
would say
that.
Bill Clinton getting impeached,
Oh,
but
that's a
I
good one.
barely remember that though. That's like,
But you were
it's
young
hazy.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have been in elementary school or like even kindergarten. You want to know what the first news story that I remember is? Living here in Florida all my life,
Hmm.
especially close to the Space Coast. The teachers would always bring us out to see the space shuttle launches. We
Okay.
could see them actually in the sky. And do you remember the Challenger where they actually had it was the first civilian ever to go up on a space or on the space shuttle, and she was a teacher. And while she was up there, she was supposed to give these like lesson plans
Hmm.
to like streaming or on TV. I forget exactly what it was, but they all brought us out there and the Challenger exploded
Holy
90
moly.
seconds, 90 seconds
Oh, so you got to saw
after
that
launch.
live, like in real
Yeah,
life.
man. And I didn't understand it at first. I knew something bad had happened because I had already seen a bunch of space shuttle launches
Right.
before that, and it didn't look right. But it's just I don't know. Would
Yeah,
you?
you're like, is that
Uh,
supposed to happen? It's
yeah, yeah. And we never got to get those lesson plans. It was like the first thing where kids at an early age had to have their parents explain to them about death, and I don't know, it was a really really weird time because it was at the beginning of that 24-hour news network cycle.
mhm.
CNN was the big one carrying it.
But even
uh
even then though, like, the whole, like you said, with the parents explaining to their children about death, like even as a kid, like it's just, you still can't really comprehend it. It's just like, it's like a shoulder shrug, because you don't. really understand it. You know, it's because with the kid,
Mhm.
your mind is always. I mean, your brain is growing, obviously, and
Let's
your
go
mind is
have
all over the
fun.
place.
I want to
Yeah,
have fun. Who gives a f about death?
exactly. You say, oh, well, that's not good, and then like,
Oh,
boom, something else
yeah,
gets your attention.
yeah. But like, would you consider yourself? Because I consider myself like a news junkie. Like I not that I'm obsessed with it, but with what we do, we kind of have to keep up with stuff.
Right.
And I'm always constantly watching every single thing, and watching news and getting informed correctly is becoming harder and harder now because all the media news sources are getting watered down. You don't know what to believe or not to
Right.
believe.
It's almost like either it's almost like don't watch it. I was talking about this the other day with my buddy, and it's like at this point, you know, you gotta actually like look at different like sources, right? So if
Yes,
you
you
want to
have
figure out
to.
something is true or not, like you need to actually
Like
look up credible
writing a college
sources.
paper. It's like
Yeah, it
writing a
is.
college paper now. You have to like look at multiple sources.
Right. And the thing is that takes work and an effort, and most people don't want to have to do that to, figure out if something is true or not. They just kind of just go with it, or they'll ask a friend. But that's why like people who are actually there, say at an event, right, can like
Yeah.
live stream or something like that, or
Yeah.
you have more credible videos. So it's
No.
I don't
Well,
know.
well,
Go ahead.
no, no, no. But I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, um, we have like ancient history, which is all the history that was passed down
Hmm.
before they came up with language where people could start writing and documenting things down. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And then it moved from recorded history. I think they're gonna have to come up with a new grouping because I think September 11th was that first event, and then we're gonna pivot and go to another topic, but 9/11 was that first big thing that was recorded by everybody.
Right.
The iPhone didn't come out until 2006. Could you imagine how many videos would have been taken on that day
Oh my
if
goodness.
they would have had
Inside,
iPhones?
outside, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and people would have been streaming. It would have been you would
That
have had so many more videos.
that would have almost made it worse.
I
Like
think it would have.
it's one thing to see it, from I guess the only angles are like from outside, at the two buildings. But can you imagine like videos
Live
from the
streaming?
inside? Yeah, like from the
Yeah, man.
inside and
Ugh.
the chaos. It would make it 1,000 times worse than what we saw. Which is
But
it's a good thing that we didn't see that stuff because I mean, who knows how you
oh,
probably would have been
yeah.
affected way worse
Yeah.
than you are now.
Um, you know, everybody's talking about how our history is all being recorded on video. And I think this is something that people don't think about a lot, Serak, is that that video digitally, okay, digitally, all right, that's going to be safe for a while, okay?
Mhm.
But what happens in the future if we don't have power, like or something happens, we're sent back into the dark ages? Is that part of history going to be just wiped away, and then we'll just have nothing but the text stuff? Maybe if that's still held up.
That's a good question. I don't know. I think even though we do have video recordings, I still think there are people out here who write it down.
Mhm.
I don't think anyone who knows that something is important leaves it to one source of recording. Right? You got to write it, you got to speak it, you got to video record it. Like it has to be multiple ways to where like you can keep track of it. Because like you said, you can easily lose a video. You can easily
Huh?
lose, a written piece of paper. You can easily, somebody could die. You can forget what they said. Like, so I think it's just more avenues of recording history than it was, 40 years ago. I don't think we're just
Uh-huh.
dependent on one as a like video recording because who knows in the future you'll be able to manipulate recordings like you were saying about the
Yeah.
what's the deep fake? Yeah. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, the deep fake videos. Yeah, you could easily fake that
yeah.
type of
Now,
stuff.
if you could do that with someone's face, imagine what you can do with like important events.
Yeah,
I play
yeah.
sometimes on the computer like Call of Duty and stuff like that, and these graphics
Uh-huh.
look so real sometimes that you can't even really tell the difference between, oh, wow, is that a real person? That's a
Hey,
fake person, and that's
man,
now.
I'm glad you brought that up. You know, one of the best things about not having people at these sporting events is
Mhm.
the different type of camera angles we're getting for sporting events now, because they don't have to worry about blocking out the view
Right.
of the spectators, and it does look like an EA Sports game.
Yeah.
They showed a game like recently, a football game, and they were like they had the camera like floating. I know that they do it with like wires and stuff, but they usually can't get it that low because it's going to be blocking the
Right.
view of the audience. But man, some of the camera angles, like during the NBA bubble stuff,
Doesn't
that
it look
straight up
real?
looked like a video game. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Like when it's, I know exactly what you mean. It was a Rams game, I remember, and the camera was like kind of like in their huddle almost. It was really close to the
Yes.
players, and the background was kind of blurred a little bit. So I literally had to ask them, I was like, hey, is this a real game or is this just
Yeah.
a video game recording? And the players even looked at, I don't know if it was just the lighting or something, but it looked at fake but real at the same time.
Have we reached the limit? Because I think we've talked about it, but your eye can only see a certain amount of frames or pixels
Right.
per second. Like, are we reaching that plateau of like we're not going to get any better than what we have right now, video wise?
Um, I don't think yet. I think there'll be other like, because 3D still in the beginning stage, not 3D, but like virtual reality, right? For
Yeah.
instance, like I don't know if you ever have you ever played the Oculus?
Yes, I have, but I mean, it does not like. All right, you can have the best videos in the world,
Mhm.
but unless you're able to involve the other senses,
Yeah,
like smell, taste, hear. Yeah, I mean, you got the hearing and the visual stuff, but I'm just talking about when you're in a situation per se, like how your body reacts to it, and maybe the video will get so good that it tricks your body into feeling that way.
I think that's where we're headed. I think with the VR, I think I play the Oculus, and obviously, I mean the graphics aren't. I mean they're kind of subpar, but you got the headphones on, and you got the headset covering your eyes, and
Mhm.
for all you know, like I mean you obviously know you're in a game just because of the way things look, but I can see 10 years from now like this looking real, and then you may have some type of sensors on you that vibrate or do whatever to
Mhm.
interact with what you're doing in the virtual reality world to where it'll be hard to tell the difference. But I do think there's a line to where like you can't cross as far as like a developer, because you don't want
Yeah.
something too real to where like people really can't tell the difference, or where you give
Or it
someone a
affects
real
them,
heart attack or something.
Um, so we were just talking about this. I'm 10 years older than you, and I want to kind of backtrack to the time thing. So have you noticed any things about yourself? Because we all do it. I feel like you're a good in shape person. I think you have confidence, but the older and older you get, when you look in the mirror, it's a gradual process. You see like little subtle changes
Right.
in your appearance and stuff. Is there something about your body that you've noticed? Oh man, I'm getting a little bit older. What I mean by that, like any gray hairs yet, or something you're not confident about with your body? Because I mean, I have mine. I'm starting to see. I don't have any in my hair, but
Hmm.
I'm starting because I never grow facial hair because my beard is just patchy as hell. Like we've talked about this. But I'm noticing gray hair, and now I'm starting to wonder: is it from everything going on in 2020? Is gray hair something that would even like bother you?
No, no, I
No,
I haven't. The one thing I haven't noticed anything
not
specifically.
even a small little wrinkle. Because
I
I'm
mean,
starting to notice some of those, like because your face, just how
I
you
can
automatically
tell.
talk.
I can tell my face is getting older, but older more like more defined. I feel like when I was younger, you're more like I don't know. I wouldn't say like fat face or anything like that, but you could just tell like everything looks like brand new and shiny and
Well,
all that crap.
your skin is more moisturized. It's more elastic.
Yeah,
Back then, and as the older you get, it just doesn't hold together as much.
I'd say this. One thing I've noticed, not necessarily on the, you know, the physical as far as me aging. I think the me caring about the aging process, I guess. Like for instance, I'd say like I will say years ago, right? I used to get my hair cut every week and make sure
Mhm.
everything was looking good, tip top shape, yada yada yada. But now it's just like I just let it, I let it grow. I care less about what other people
Oh,
think, I guess you could
all
say.
right. No, 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 no. But I mean, I get what you're saying because in your 20s, you back to our last conversation, we're nothing but animals. It's
Right.
all ingrained in our DNA, and in your 20s, that is when your hormones are at peak level. I mean, peak level is probably teenage years, but I mean, you're able to get those under control,
Hmm.
and you want to look good because in your mind, ingrained in your DNA, you need to meet somebody. You need to find a mate.
Hmm.
I know that sounds weird by saying that, but I mean, if you're thinking about it just from the animal side of who we are, yes, we want to look good to attract the females,
Right.
and vice versa.
Exactly. But after a while, you kind of lose that luster,
Is
that,
it
that
giving up?
drive.
Is it giving up, or when we get older, we know that women are looking more for more than just looks per se.
Yeah,
They want.
I think that's it. And I think you also gain more responsibilities, and then things start to kind of even out. You
Yeah,
know,
you got to kind of drop those things. You can't go get like if you were one of those dudes that gets a manicure and pedicure and stuff, and
hmm.
you're getting your tips, bleached or something, and you're wanting to go out. Yeah, I mean,
But
yes, of course
even
you're gonna
now
do
though,
that.
like even now with you got like Tinder and what's the other one on the Match.com? Like
Bumble.
it's no it's less and less effort needed to achieve, to find a mate or whatever it may be. Back then it used to be you actually had to try. You didn't have when you didn't have cell phones. You had to actually have to spend time at a bar or out or a friend of a friend type deal where you actually had to
Mhm.
make an actual effort. But now it's it's a touch of a button. It's you beating them off you most of the time, and
Uh-huh.
it's getting easier. So when it's easier, it's not really something you strive for much. And I think that's
Okay,
go ahead.
so do you think, and I know that people are going to give me hell about this statement, okay? And I agree, women need equal rights. I agree 100%, okay? But with the evolution of women's rights, do you think women have become more aggressive? Like, why do the guys always have to be the aggressor? Why can't the woman be the aggressor? Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be disrespectful to women or anything, but do you think that has shifted
Oh yeah,
who
yeah, definitely,
takes you
definitely.
really do?
But in a way that like not just them women being more aggressive. I just think in all
Or
aspects
just trying to
between.
impress you, trying to go the extra effort. Because for the most part, it was the guys, that
Mhm.
had to do things. They were the ones that had to spend the money. And I've noticed the older and older I've got, like I will go for the bill, but like I've been like I was going out with this chick that is a
Uh-huh.
nurse. She
Uh-huh.
is. She works as an ER nurse. She makes really, really good money. And I paid the first couple of times, and she wanted to pay again. And it was like, no, 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 I got this. And it was a pretty big bill, but she still got it. Does that make me less than a man
No,
or
not
what?
at all. No, not at all. I think with what's going on. I mean, I feel like men and women like we're. I mean, I think we're on an even playing field, so it has to be treated that same way. If this was 50 years ago, most women would be. I mean, a housewife would actually be like a career type deal, but it's not like that anymore. Most women are
D-
working, they got degrees, and I'm just saying, but like we think about
no.
we'll say 1950 or something like that, right? Men go off to war, the women stay home, take care of the kids, or the men go to work. The woman's a housewife. Now I know that's not for everybody, but now we're shifting to where you know we're all respected on the same level. I'm not saying that it's disrespectful to be a housewife, but I'm just saying like there's
No, it's
there.
actually very admirable. If I'm just being honest, my dad was not a chauvinistic guy at all, but my dad thought it would give me the best opportunity for school and to keep me out of trouble, and
Mhm.
they could keep an eye on me. But until I was able to drive to go to high school, my mom stayed at home. Like she took care of things. And I got to tell you, looking back on it now, I don't think women and mothers that stay home get enough credit. That is a hard
That's
job.
hard. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's funny. Like, I can imagine. Like, I don't have any children, but like, I'm dreading the day where I have to wake up earlier than usual to wake the kids up to take them to school or take them to the bus stop. That's like 16 years straight, right? Like, you don't really think about it as a child. That's just part of your daily routine. But
But it goes by so quick, though.
Yeah.
It went by long for us. But when I talk to parents all say, man, you go from that birth to 18 in a heartbeat. Like it just blows by.
That's insane. And that's what, like, I think about that sometimes. I don't want to be like, people say not a lot of my friends, but most in my age group have one child already, to be honest with you. And it's like, I'm not in a rush for kids, but like, I also don't want to be like 50 years old and still have no kids. I don't want to be that grandpa showing up and you're like, oh, your grandpa's here. Like, no, that's my dad.
No, you bring that up though, but is it, like, back to what I was saying, ingrained in our DNA, or is it ingrained into our psyche just because that's the norm? But like, why do guys, like, I'll admit to you, like, when I turned 40, the only hard part I had was like, damn, I'm 40, I have no kids right now. And does it make you less of a man if you don't have kids? Like,
no,
seriously.
No, I don't think not at all. But I think most men,
I mean, but we want to, though, because it's a pride thing. Like,
not a pride thing. It's just you want like someone to carry on your name.
Okay. Yes, that is exactly what you just said is the definition of pride. I
feel like pride would be more of a personal, personal thing versus you just. I guess it is you. Never mind. You're right.
No. But us as humans, we're like, oh, I want to live forever, and the only way that I can live on is to carry on my name. But just think about it.
Or do something memorable. Be an inventor or something. Like an Einstein. I don't know if he had children, but we still carry on his name almost 100 years later.
But that's like it's like, oh yeah, guess what? I don't care what he does. I mean, he might grow up to be a scumbag. Who knows? But at least my name's out there.
Well, I also think, like, most people want children to guide them to guide them to do the things better that us or whoever as a parent didn't do, right? To avoid the mistakes that parents made, right? Because hey, if I'm gonna make another me with someone else or a miniature me, let's guide them and make sure they avoid all the pitfalls and that I ran into or your wife ran into or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never spoken to someone over, I guess, 50 or 60 who doesn't have children, but always kind of.
Oh, I'm right there, buddy. So yeah, it's very pathetic. It's very pathetic. All the other dudes are like, oh, what's wrong with him? I mean, does he have no penis?
Well, let me ask you this though: do you think, like you said, it's embedded in you to want to have kids, right? I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's your personal
Serak
decision, but like, I feel like genetically, like, that's what you were made for.
No, I agree with you, but you also know what is genetically ingrained into their mind and their psyche to reproduce is viruses, pandemics. Yeah. They are supposed to replicate. And I'm not trying to get this big conspiracy theory guy, but maybe that's what our problem is right now. You do know that the Earth has a tipping point.
Only the environment and outside influence would change your mind, pretty much. If you were born on a planet and it was just you and a handful of people, and you guys, there was no history made for the planet yet, of course you'd reproduce.
But that's why they made sex feel so good, though, Serak. I'm just being honest. I mean,
very true.
Okay, but I mean, all right. So we invented this thing to stop us from impregnating, which we're supposed to do. But we're so dumb as men. We're like, oh yeah, no condom. I'm gonna go in, and that's how it happens. That's why that is a sick joke. It's like it feels so good. I don't want to wear a condom, or I'm not gonna go to the store to get a condom because guess why? If I leave, the woman might not be in the mood when I get back.
Very true. It's very true.
But
you're chasing pleasure, not really chasing,
but that's a byproduct of it. That is why it's in our DNA. We have to reproduce to move on. Now, us as humans, we've become more intelligent, and we know about that. But like, that's why I feel so good. Why do you think men in the animal kingdom get the fuck a lot of bitches? And I know that I'm being a male chauvinist by saying that, but like the male lion, like he gets the like. I mean, the way they don't get a choice, and like he gets the harem of all of them.
Yeah, but that's not
and
his
why
fault.
do you think? Could you imagine like us as men? Now, my dad always brought this up. You know that dogs will travel miles if they smell a female dog that's in heat, that's ready to reproduce. Okay. Could you imagine how many more homicides we would have here in the United States?
If men had
yeah, no, if we could smell a woman that, and not, I'm not saying smell in a bad way, but like, and then a whole bunch of dudes showed up and the dudes had to fight it out to be able to hook up with her. No,
honestly, it probably used to be like that. If the numbers are like, we'll say like 1,000 years ago, Neanderthals or whoever, like I'm sure it was like that. It's if it was one woman and 10 men, like we can't all have her. And
but Serak, think about this though. People don't believe in evolution, but that is a part of evolution, because you want to know why? The strongest, most badass dude is the one that's going to get to reproduce. So you know what now? I think that's our problem as humans. We let the weaklings even reproduce. We only should. If we go back to the days of guys having to fight each other to be able to score with a chick, I think our gene pool would be much stronger here in the world. But it's all natural selection. You see what I'm saying?
Physically stronger, not necessarily mentally stronger. And I think that's where it kind of divided. I think people started to realize, okay, we're growing really fast in numbers, and if we keep reproducing, we're not going to have enough food to feed all these these babies.
No, we're not.
And eventually,
this is why this pandemic is here. Yeah, it's culling the herd. I hate to be blunt, but it kind of is.
It's too many people, too many mouths. It's more women on the earth than men. I forgot the number, but
it is. It is
we're
out there.
outnumbered.
But I mean, we've only lost 2 million people here in the world. That's like pissing in the ocean to the amount of people that we have on this planet right now.
It's not. I mean, I feel bad for everyone who passed, but that's not like a large number compared to the world population. I think just people get caught on those tier numbers like million, billion, trillion. That's always thousand.
Talked about this.
It always seems like 1,000 always seems way more than 999.
Us as humans, we cannot understand numbers. I talked about this with my my guest earlier in the week. She got abducted by aliens. Yeah,
she got abducted by aliens.
Yeah, she's from New Zealand. Crazy story. You got to go listen to the interview.
Oh my God.
But people don't understand. Okay, so to count from 1 to a million by going 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, that will take you 31 days.
Oh man.
Now, I could be off on these numbers. I know people, but I know I'm pretty close. So count from 1 to a billion. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. How long is that going to take it?
Man, probably a couple years.
31 years.
31 years. That's insane.
And don't even get me started on counting from 1 to a trillion. 1 Mississippi.
So technically, if you started counting to a billion when I was born, you would just now finish.
Yes. But I mean, think about it, Serak. When we look at numbers, we are not able to physically, so if you count that up and put that, because people know how long they've lived. So now you can kind of understand the differences in the numbers. Because back in the day, for you to be like a millionaire was a big deal. Like if you're a millionaire, you're like, oh man, that guy's set. Right. Now it's billionaire.
Yeah, now $1 million. I mean, still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but
dude, $1 million. I would pretty much. I could almost guarantee you. But me and you have lived different. We've lived lives where like we didn't have extravagant things, and I could easily, if you gave me $1 million cash right now, I would keep working. But guess what? I wouldn't be struggling.
That's true. But you never know. Like some people, until you have it, you really don't know the decisions you would make.
For Dude, I would still
what
work
are
a
the
job.
first thing people do when they say you hit the lottery, right? What's
Buy
the
a
lottery
car,
now?
buy a house.
Buy a car, take care of your family,
Yeah,
your parents or kids, whoever, right?
that's
And
why a
that's
lot of sports people go bankrupt because they think that they owe like everybody in the field. Oh, I'll buy you a Mercedes. I'll buy you a
yep.
Benz. I mean, that's what happens.
That's sad, man. That's. I mean, what do you do in this situation, right? You can't say no to mom, can you? Can you say
I'm
no to
taking
mom and
care of
dad?
my mom and dad, and everybody else can suck my dick.
Okay, but then
Basically,
like, what if mom and dad is like, hey, like what they need help with, you do that, but then a couple months pass by, hey, Tuddle was wondering, we want to take a vacation here. Okay, a couple thousand here and there. Okay, a couple months later, hey, Tuddle, we're thinking about buying this property, blah blah blah. Okay,
all right, wait
hundred
till I get
thousand.
my next contract. Wait till I get my next contract. Wait till I hit
I'm
my
telling you, man,
bonuses.
you say that, but you never know how you're gonna react when you're in the actual situation. And
Um,
and it's other examples that we've seen, with sports, usually with sports figures, because they're, it's kind of like it's usually fast money almost immediately. But I don't know how I'd react if that happened to me.
all right, so you've been dating the same girl for quite a while now.
Yeah, with 3
And
years.
I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but like, um, so I mean, you're talking, you're 31, you don't want to be that older guy. Like, I mean, do you have a game plan, or do you and her talk about this game plan, like where you
Like
guys see
marriage and
yourself?
children.
Yeah,
Um,
has it been talked about yet?
yes and no. I think we both have a understanding, even if it's non-vocalized. I mean, yeah. I mean, if I say this, if I'm planning on marrying you, if I feel like I will, then everything comes with obviously children, obviously, some form of property. So yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, I don't put a time limit on it, but probably within the next couple years.
I see. I think you're at the right age. I got married at 26.
Okay.
Now you would think 26 is a good range, but I mean, maybe I wasn't ready for it then. Maybe 30 is the perfect age because you get your 20s out of your way. That
Mhm.
still gives you the beginning of your 30s to find somebody, do the courtship, do the dating,
Mhm.
get engaged, get married, buy a house, have kids, and then you're pretty good. Like by 38, your
Yeah.
family is already starting to sprout up.
Yeah. And hell, I think my dad had me when he was
My
32,
parents had me
33.
older. Yeah, you're right. Now, how old are your parents right now?
My dad is 63, I believe, 63. My mom is like 59 or something. I don't know. They're like, my mom's the type to where like you never gonna find out her age, even if you ask her.
But you're right about in
Times.
my wheelhouse. My parents had me around 32, 33. So that means when you're in your 40s, they're going to be close, or your dad's going to be like in his 70s, like where mine are right
Yeah.
now.
Yep. Yep. And I'm okay with that, And I almost think that's like a gene or trait that's passed down. You know, a lot of times, you look like your parents, obviously, and you
Mhm.
share the same, have DNA from each. And I think a lot of the tendencies kind of pass down too. Like life events almost pass down. If if
Have you
you know,
have you have
go
you
ahead.
ever noticed like random things? Like when I cough, sometimes it hits my ear, and I'm like, God, I cough like my dad. Just
Yeah.
like like just stupid, mundane things. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. The other day, I was sitting down and I just had like my arms crossed. I don't know if I was watching TV, and then like in my head, I pictured my dad looking the exact same way. And then
Yeah.
when I was younger, when he used to sit like that, like I always wondered what he was thinking. And then now that I do it, now I know what he was thinking because I was probably thinking the same thing at the moment. It's just so weird how you are like literally, you almost do the same things, maybe in a little bit different way, but or even habits, like being
No,
late for
dude,
something.
I took a dump the other day. Like because we had one bathroom at my house growing up, and we'd have to follow my dad sometimes,
Uh-huh.
and you'd have to go right in there because when you got to go, and no matter how bad the smell is. But now that I've been noticing when I take a dump, I'm like, oh man, I kind of have my dad's same aroma there.
Oh, I see. I don't. I never noticed that. I don't even.
You will, buddy.
I
You
just
will.
assume my parents don't even use the bathroom sometimes. Like
Uh,
there's people in your life you just assume don't do things that they probably do, but you just don't want to hear about it.
your dad is from another country, right? Like
Yeah,
he
correct.
immigrated here. Do
Yep.
you now? everybody thinks everybody gets circumcised. Do you think your dad, like, do you know,
do I
like,
think he is? Probably. I would assume
no,
so.
but the Arturian or what words? Arturian. Yeah.
Eritrea, there you go. Close.
Yeah. And now
Arturian.
Arturian, I'm sorry. God damn it. At least
That's
I
a new
got
one.
the A right. At least I
Arturian.
got the A right.
Hey, look, that could be one of those like cultures that like, what was that show?
No, it's a
Game of Thrones,
yeah,
Arturians.
yeah, or like a alien race in Star Trek or something. Oh, we
Yeah.
got to fire upon the Arturians.
Yeah, or like the lady you said that got abducted by Arturian.
Yeah, she got abducted by some Arturians. They came by, they threw her in her
They
little cart that was being...
circumcised her and left.
No, but for real, like, I mean, are you for sure though? Like,
am I for sure? No, I'm not for sure, but I believe. I think
never
yes,
caught your parents naked at all because we grew up in
because I am.
Yeah,
that's why. And I feel
What's
like
that?
I said I think yes because I am right.
My dad's not circumcised, but he damn sure made it. I got circumcised.
I don't know. You might have to ask him again. You
I've
could have got
never-
it later in life. You could have got it later.
I've only told this story once, but like as a kid, so like, but you had sisters though, right? Were you
Right.
ever alone at the house when your parents left back in the day?
Was I ever alone by myself?
Yeah. Okay. So like when you get to that teenage years and you discover masturbation and stuff,
Mhm.
like as soon as the parents leave, that's the first thing you think of as a teenage kid. You're like, yes, I get to have a jack session.
Jack session. That wasn't that really the first thing I thought of, because I was more of a outside active kid, so I just think like, all right, let me get the hell out of here. I would just leave. But every now and
That's
then,
cardio,
you're by
buddy.
yourself.
Jacking off is a great workout.
Yeah, but I'd be too paranoid that because like it was, I don't know, just where I was, it was always like windows and shit, and the way they would come in the house would be so quiet, like I wouldn't even know like if somebody.
As a kid, your fast twitch muscles. I would swear to God, I would love to see what my 40 time would be. Like if I'm in a session and you hear that car door close and you hear the keys going into the front door, like your ass will move. Like you'll get chip pit away. And then as a kid, you got to remember because your dad would have those like Playboy magazines and stuff back in the day, and you would check them out. You had to make sure, because before you started a session, you had to realize and remember in what order they were stacked, because I was paranoid and had OCD as a kid. Like at that time, I didn't know. But like, yeah, I would write things out. All right, this one went here. This is how it was set up.
So you're doing
and
too,
you're
like, they wouldn't know, even they wouldn't notice that. Like that's like overdoing it a little bit. Like I'm sure he knew anyway. Like,
okay,
your parents know the things you do or did, and they may not never bring it up or say anything, but you knew you need to have to do all that. Like now when you think about it, you're like, they probably do anyway. Like
now,
I used to sneak. Oh man, the girl I dated in high school into my place all the time.
Dude, that takes some balls, buddy.
Well, because my room was on like the ground floor, if that makes sense. So I had these two windows.
So you lived like in a townhouse type thing. You had it upstairs and stuff.
That wasn't really a townhouse. It was more of a. It's hard to explain. It's just the way my room was for some reason. But the windows were like on ground floor, so I opened the window and I used to sneak her in and out all the time. But the thing that sucks is right above my room was my little sister's room, and then my parents' room were kind of like off to the side. And man, that used to be the biggest thrill. Like at that time, sneak it in and out, be quiet, do this. And my dad would wake up at like 4 a.m. in the morning. I don't know why he'd wake up so early to go to work, but like I could hear him coming down the steps, and like my heart would be racing.
When you would get in trouble, did he like spank you at all, or no? Like what would like a punishment be? Like if you would have gotten caught sneaking out or being out or getting in trouble?
I never really got caught. And if I did, like say if I got in trouble for something, like it would just be a talk. It would never be, some people
really.
Some people, how do I say this? Like it doesn't necessarily always have to be like a physical. I know like with younger kids,
dude,
spanking. But like, once around like 11 or 12, it was just more of a stern.
Having my dad tell me that he was disappointed, I would rather him beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Than tell my dad say, yeah, I'm disappointed in you.
Yeah, because saying disappointed lingers a lot longer than any type of pain, any type of physical pain.
And people think I'm crazy when I say that, but as a as a son, when your dad says that he's disappointed in you, that shit cuts deep. I'm sorry. I'd rather just take the ass whipping.
Yeah, and then like, because when they say that, it's like there's never like a follow up apology, you know?
No, he just lets it go and lets it stew in you. Like that's it.
Yeah, like if you 10 years later, like, are you still disappointed?
Yeah, it's like he gave you an upper decker. Your dad gave you an upper decker. He shit.
Yeah.
He shit in the place where the water holds up in, and that stuff sticks with you. You have to flush that thing so many times until you stop getting the brown water when you're flushing. So that's exactly what it is.
But saying you're disappointed in someone, it one or two things could happen. Either, you know, that person is crushed, or, you know, they're just forever upset or wondering, or it's almost like it makes you more motivated to try to not disappoint, if that makes sense. So you'll do something extra, you know, more than over the top to impress maybe the parent or boss or whatever. So, I mean, it can work both ways.
Yeah, I see. My baseball coach, like, I was a great baseball player growing up, and I made varsity baseball as a freshman. Not a lot of people did that. As a freshman, I made varsity baseball, and I'm like all excited, like, yes, I'm a freshman. I made the varsity team. I go up to the coach that's already hitting like ground balls for people to practice, and I was like, Coach, where do you want me? He said, you see that dugout over there? You see that bench? Go sit on it, because that's where you're going to be all fucking year.
Yep, that would have been my last day at practice.
No, but guess what? It motivated me, though, buddy. It motivated me. For real. It was like, you know what? I'm going to show him.
See, I can't do that. Like, I can't do that when it comes to sports. I can't sit and watch others. You know, I learn by actually doing. I can't learn by watching.
But I practice. I mean, he let me practice. He was just trying to kind of like, you know, like make a point. That's I guess maybe he was trying to motivate me, but he also choked me out. I don't know, because he was a Vietnam vet, and he had a flashback, and like he like, you know, almost choke slammed me.
You look like the enemy.
I looked like I was wearing a pointy hat. I was wearing a pointy hat, and I guess, you know, he freaked out.
Not this time, Tuddle.
Just you're not gonna get me, Charlie.
Coach, relax.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, Serak, God, you know what, dude? Think about this. I don't think we really hit on any news stories today. We just sat here and BS about
but with news, I'm sure the news. You know, I'm sure the news stories are the same ones as yesterday.
No, this is a good thing, though.
And the day before, it's all the same stuff.
Yeah, but I'm saying this is a good thing. Like, we were able to just riff. I don't even know how long. How long were we recording for here?
Like, I don't know, like hour,
35,
50-some minutes. Oh, I will say this. You know what's weird? The past 48 to 72 hours, I've been really tempered. Is that strange? Like, I don't know why.
Tempered? What do you mean? Like you got a short fuse?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened or what it is. I don't know if I'm just dehydrated or something, because I don't know. Yesterday, I was just, even like today a little bit, I've just been on this really short temper, and I've been like, yelling at everybody. Hell, this dude almost cut me off yesterday when I was driving.
Be careful.
And I pulled up to him, and I wrote on my window. He wrote on his, and I just went to town on his ass. And then, like, he was just like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
White dude?
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You can go in front of me," and I just sped off. And then, like, 10 seconds later, I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" Like, I don't know what's going on.
Serak, you got to be careful with that road rage, man, because, like, you, with the state of Florida the way it is, with the castle law, stand your ground stuff, man. Like, I mean, come on, man. You got to be smarter. But listen, I can't talk because I've done some pretty bad things when it comes to losing my temper and going off. But you got to remember, anybody can have a goddamn gun right now, and it's just not worth it. It is not worth it.
But like, given like the car he was driving, the location where we're at, I can just tell he was just a prick.
Yeah, like, but you never know.
That's very true. I didn't get out the car. I just verbally assaulted him, pretty much.
Yeah, but you know what? They like, he could have been like, you know, fuck this guy. I ain't gonna let him talk to me like that. And he pulls a gun out. You know, and you're already fired up. And maybe you say something or do something, or you reach for something. Maybe you're going into your pocket for something, you know, and he blasts you. I mean, and then is it going to be worth it because he cut you off? I'm not like talking down.
I have a like, if you pull out a gun, I have a sword in my car, in my trunk. What would you do in that situation, right? If, say, you're the guy with the gun and this guy comes up, he pulls up next to you, and he's giving you the business, talking all this shit. You pull out a gun, and he pops his trunk, and he pulls out a sword. Like, how would
do you remember that? Did you ever see the original Indiana Jones movie?
Yes, but
no. I mean, so do you remember? You remember when he was in that little market and one of those guys comes out with those like Middle Eastern swords where it's like skinny at the handle and it like curves and it's like a big sword at the end.
Yeah.
This guy's doing all these like tricks try to show how much of a badass he does. And Harrison Ford, you know what he does? He pulls out his revolver and just shoots him right in the head, and it's like game over. That's exactly what I do. If I got a gun and you pull out a sword, I'm fucking shooting you.
I feel like it'd be like I'd have like a 50-50 chance where like the guy would just think like, okay, clearly he doesn't have a gun. He still
this guy's crazy.
If this guy's crazy, let me get out of here.
Yeah, if he's bringing a sword to a gunfight, like, nah, man, we're not playing that.
Intentionally, he knows something I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he's like a Deadpool in X-Men Origins. Like if you shoot on him, he can like slice the bullet in half.
And then he says, "I've died before." Yeah, that was usually.
yes. So that's goddamn. This is a great conversation today, Serak. Tell people once again how they can check out your info and your content.
Oh yeah. So basically, audio versions on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's the weekly review. You should see a picture of my face. It's really. Oh, I guess.
How's your partner doing?
He's doing good. You know what's funny? They couldn't find anything as far as like why he's feeling so shitty. And
he didn't want to be on the air with me. That's why he faked sick. He didn't want to be
a week.
For a week. He's like, God damn it, I don't want to be on with that nerd ass cracker motherfucker.
And he they kicked him. They didn't kick him out, but they sent them home because they needed the beds for all the COVID cases.
Yes.
I was like, damn. So
is he kind of like a hypochondriac though?
No, I don't think so. Well, he went to Tampa General, so I don't know. I guess they're busy instead of the VA hospital.
So growing up in a black household, like, was it hard? Like if you weren't feeling good and you told your mom, oh, I don't want to go to school. Like, I mean, would you have to be like bleeding or have stitches? No,
because well, for one, my parents split up when I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Oh,
so
okay,
like,
I'm sorry.
If I was with my mom and I didn't want to go to school or was feeling shitty, she'd be happy with that. We'd be able to spend more time with each other. I don't get sick a lot. So
how was that though? Like, okay, I know, like, I see a lot of my friends, like my parents are still together, but I also have a lot of friends that had parents that were divorced. My Generation X was called the latchkey kids because both of the parents were either working. It was the first generation where either both of the parents were working or both of the parents were split up or divorced. So the kids had to come. They called us latchkey kids because we would have our own key. We would let ourselves into the house. We would have to be responsible of, if we want to go hang out with our friends or do our homework and then make food for ourselves. And then the parents would probably be home around 6:30, 7 o'clock. You get to spend a little bit of time with them. But like, how was that? And I'm sure your parents, I mean, from everything you said, or weren't those parents that were like, that used you as a pawn or something, like, like, oh, I'm mad at my husband, so I'm going to keep the kid away. But white people do that a lot. I'm sorry. No, I'm just saying from what I've learned from my friends and stuff, but it's always like a big F you. And I think that is so horrible to do. Like, if you get divorced, you still, yes, I may hate this person or I dislike her, but you got the kid's the most important thing.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's
my parents were pretty cordial. And, one thing is my sister stayed with my mom and I stayed with my dad. So regardless, like there was always communication on both ends. And I think the split was more of a just go separate ways type thing versus like we hate each other type of thing.
Nasty? What if it, you gotta understand there are some divorces that are nasty.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I don't. It's just I mean, it's hard when you're like 4 or 5 years old. It's hard to kind of see what's going on. When you're that young, you almost think it's normal, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. They split up, but then like the older you get, you realize. But I grew up in a pretty like stable, even though
that's good.
They were split, stable household, I guess.
I shouldn't generalize, but I mean, I listen. Me and you are to the point where we understand that there's differences between cultures. It's always going to
Right.
be there, but we should celebrate those. We should, because that's who makes us who we are.
Right.
Like I hate when people say, "Oh, I don't see color." Now, I mean,
Are we
I don't
colorblind?
treat no, but what I'm saying is I still treat people, but I also I like different people. I like people from different cultures. I know we all still are built the same, but you have to admit, I think our differences should be celebrated. I think that actually can bring us closer to each other.
Right.
If you're like me, that's like wanting to know, how
Right.
was it growing up in a black family, or because I was a minority. Not a lot of people realize this is that Hispanic Mexicans,
Mhm.
because Mexicans, I grew up in the fern capital of the world. More fernery, the fern they put in flowers and stuff,
Uh-huh.
comes from the city that I grew up in. And the Spanish culture came there because it was great work.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's why I've been the way that I am, is because I celebrate differences.
Oh yeah, well yeah. It's like I said, it's one thing, I mean, obviously genetically you can only you don't have really no choice over that, but from then on, like your environment, the people, your influences, the people you grew up around shapes who you are as an adult. I mean, that's a given. So, there's things you can change and there's things you can't change. That's why, you have these people who grew up in maybe great families
Mhm.
or excuse me, have great genetics, but turn out to be an asshole because, they grew up around assholes. It's hand in hand.
Man, I dated one black girl in my life,
Mhm.
and it was like 21, 22, but she was adopted. She had actually white parents. Weird
And they're
situation, buddy.
completely different. They're like, and they're completely the opposite of what you would think. Like, if you didn't
I'm
know,
not saying it's a bad thing. It's just,
no, it's not. It's just you.
I
It
don't know.
just as a black man, I know. I mean, it's not important to me now, but like even being younger, like you always knew who was adopted. Like
Mhm.
I never even had to meet their parents. Like I remember we had this
Oh,
kid.
so you had some buddies that were African American that had white parents, or maybe a different culture parents.
No, well, they weren't like friends, but I
You
knew
knew them.
them. Like you knew. Like for instance, let me give you an
Yeah.
example. So I remember this kid. His name was Al. Who would you say, Alex? Right?
Mhm.
And he was black, but like I knew him through high school and stuff like that. And he was a cool guy,
Mhm.
but I didn't even know he was adopted. But I can tell just by
There
the
was
way he
something different.
the way he acted that his
Like, give me
parents
an
were black.
example. Give me an example. I'm so
I
curious.
would
Like,
say the things he liked, like the things he liked to do. Obviously who he hung out with, um, the way he talked. Just and then like one time,
oh,
I remember one time we went. I think he had like some type of basically people went over his house. I forgot what reason. Maybe it
no,
was
no, no,
like
no.
something
I
for
get.
football or something. And then you found out he was adopted because his parents was white. And like it wasn't like
Oh, it makes
that makes
sense.
sense. It wasn't like I already kind of knew. I just it doesn't. That's what goes to show. Like it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, or whatever. Like it's the way you grew.
It's
Like
your
the
surroundings, your
parents and your
nature and
surrounding. Yeah,
nurture.
that makes you who you are. And so that's why when you see like in the news and stuff, like this Spanish guy did this or yada yada did this. Like you can't just automatically assume it's because of their race. It's just you got to assume it's how they grew up, who influence them. What are they learning? Like that makes them who
Mhm.
they are, not the color of their skin or what their accent.
Dude, I'm one last thing, and then I do have to go. But I know this movie is before your time. Do you know who Steve Martin is?
Yeah, oh God, I've
He
heard the name before.
he's an older comedian. He was in a bunch of movies like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, a whole bunch of stuff. The Jerk. But The Jerk though was great because just watch the first 5 or 10 minutes of it.
The Jerk.
The Jerk. He is a white nerdy dude, but
Mhm,
he was raised by a very southern black family. And
mhm,
it is like, and this movie was done in the 70s, and some of the shit that they were doing was like very, very edgy.
mhm.
Like, and it was great. And he grew up, he would like, he considered himself, like, when he went to fill out an application, he signed, what's your race? He would African American, and people like had a hard time getting hired because that's how he felt. But I mean, it's a classic movie. It's a little dumb, but so many people do like that. Well, Serak, Man, this was a great conversation, man, and I really appreciate you giving me some time. Do
No
you work
problem.
today or no?
Yeah, a little bit later on.
You wear a mask when you're working?
Yeah, we have to.
Oh yeah.
Talk though, for 8 hours.
I mean,
oh.
look, I don't have a problem wearing them. It's just for long periods of time.
Yeah.
It's got to get a little weird.
I mean, I'll go outside and I'll take it off for a second.
Because I hear you sniffling, and I was asking because a lot of people said that they've been having infections, bacterial pneumonia from their lungs getting dried out or rebreathing that stuff. But I think
you can hear that sniffling.
Good. Yeah, I can hear her sniffling.
God,
yeah.
I'm turning my head and doing it. I must be sniffling.
No, you got a great microphone, or you got some big ass nose hairs or something. Because it's not that I can hear. I can just hear that. I can hear the whistling that you get through. When it cuts through those thick ass nose hairs.
Yeah, I gotta trim some of those.
I'm just messing with you, buddy.
Like an organ.
All right, man. I love you, buddy, and I appreciate everything you do for me. A lot of people are digging when I have you on and when I'm on your show as well too.
No problem, man. I appreciate it. Anytime. It's like 2 clicks of a mouse and we're recording. So yeah, man. Anytime.
All right, Serak. Have a good one.
You too, buddy.